What's the most you made on an ASIN, a single ASIN?
Probably like $100,000 profit on it.
Wow.
Actually, I'm gonna show it to you. It's on my shelf. Let me grab it real quick.
Oh, Bolo, here we go.
Confident in it being profitable and being good. I'm not speculating anymore. I like totally turned off the speculation. Like, oh, this is gonna be good in a month because so and so, da da da. Nope, I'm not buying it. If it isn't good and I don't feel that it's gonna sell good now, I'm not messing with it. Plug my holes. It's like, yeah, it's cool to like grow your business and sales, but it's like the bigger I get, it's like the more I'm finding ways I'm losing money in other areas.
If you focus on the inputs, you're probably going to get the outputs, but if you only focus on the output, I mean, you might not get that, But if you focus on what you're doing day to day, guarantee you're going to get something.
For whatever you want to do. So I do think when you're in business or doing anything really, the idea to be flexible and be able to pivot is just really helpful.
Like, crap, I'm gonna probably lose, freaking $20,000 on the buy, and I paid $30 for it.
We're not doctors. We're not doctors.
Not a doctor.
Talk to your physician before you do anything crazy. All that, like progression. Like, what'd you do this year? Like 1.5?
1.6 is 2023.
Oh, sorry. Excuse me. I forgot about that $100,000. What is up, guys? Welcome back to another episode. I have my good friend Jamison on the podcast. He is a beast of an Amazon seller. I think I saw somewhere he's done over $7 million selling on Amazon. He does a lot of retail arbitrage, toy expert, and just a great guy. We pretty much talk daily. So what's up?
What's going on, guys? What's up? How you guys doing?
Good. How are you?
Doing good.
Glad to hear it. You want to give people like a little background of how you got started selling on Amazon and kind of what your business looks like now?
Yeah, definitely. I started like a lot of other people, like 15 years ago doing eBay part-time. Ended up getting into drugs and stuff like that, became addicted to drugs, ended up getting fired from my job, evicted from my apartment, lost my eBay account, kind of drifted through life for like 4 or 5 years playing World of Warcraft in my basement. And then after just kind of living like a loser for so many years, I decided to go and get a job, and unfortunately nobody would hire me. I tried for like a year and a half, 2 years to get a job, second interview, and nobody would call me back. I slowly got back into eBay, eventually found Amazon, started Amazon with maybe $100, $200, and kind of just grinded at that. I started, before there was like any courses, YouTube videos, or anything like that, and just kind of just grinded and trialed and errored and had to, make all the mistakes on my own. I don't even think like Keepa was around when I started. So you just like, I remember like walking around the stores, I printed up a rank chart of all the 1% ranks in each category, and that's how I would base my buys off of. Like, oh, okay, well, toys 1% rank is 500,000. So anything that's 500K rank or whatever the rank was, I'm buying all those toys, and a lot of it wouldn't sell, some would. So it was a lot of trial and error, and I just, pushed through it, kept at it, slowly got involved in, doing, more into Facebook and, meeting other friends and stuff that did this, Instagram, and then just grinded at it for many, many years. And then this year for 2024, I'm on pace to do, I'm hoping I can do about 2 million in sales for 2024.
Wow, that's amazing. How do you notice like that, like progression? Like, what'd you do this year? Like 1.5?
1.6 is 2023.
Oh, sorry. Excuse me.
Sorry.
I forgot about that $100,000. So how do you plan to go from 1.6 to 2 million? Like, how are you thinking about it differently, or are you just building on kind of your past?
Back in October, my fiance quit her job and came on full time with me. So now I have her to help prep, ship, stuff like that. I'm teaching her how to source. When we go on road trips and we go sourcing, I bring her into the store and we're scanning together, and I'm teaching her everything that I know as I go. So that way, eventually in 2024, I'll be able to get her to shop, on her own here, and then also to help me ship and everything like that and create shipments and stuff. So I think having her on full time this year, I don't see a problem being able to go from 1.6 to 2 million this year, having a second pair of hands and then teaching them along the way as we, build it together.
What does your split look like between RA and OA? I think you're an RA guy a lot, right?
It's so all over the board. So when I'm not traveling and doing RA road trips, like I'm maybe 5% RA. Like if I stay home for like 3 months, I'll probably do RA maybe 4 times in 3 months. Like I'll do like, like one day a month and go out all day long and, get what I can. And then it's like my city's like, I'm not good with, no, it doesn't replenish enough or whatever. But when we do RA road trips, I'm 100% RA, very little OA from the phone or computer when I'm at my hotel rooms. And then I do a decent amount of wholesale in between also.
Yep. And I'm assuming the reason for the heavy RA is probably because the margins are much better, right? If you're doing like the road trip type of thing.
Yeah, I mean, it's honestly just with the expense of traveling, it eats up a lot of the profits. Like it's still profitable. I more so do the RA road trips because I enjoy traveling. Like I just love to be able to travel, and I can, pay my bills at home and pay my bills on the road, and then maybe turn a small profit. But I'm honestly, if I stuck and like learned OA a lot better, I'd probably be better, with my time to stay home and make more money doing that. But I love just being able to travel and stuff, so I just kind of stick with that just because it's fun.
And it's smart too. I mean, if you were doing just OA at home, you probably just use the profits to travel anyway. So you might as well use
exactly. So it's So it evens out, I'm sure.
Yeah, definitely.
You get to write a lot of that off too, because you're traveling for work or
miles,
business,
food, hotel, events and stuff like that, dinners and everything. So almost all of it gets written off, as long as we're working and shopping and shipping and stuff.
Yeah, I've actually never thought about that until that. I mean, you might be the first person I've heard, like, I guess, do that type of thing. It makes a ton of sense because you're almost going on a vacation where you're still running your business and it's a write off. And yeah, that's like an amazing way to go about it.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I love it.
How much would you think? I mean, it probably depends on location, obviously, but how much would you think an RA trip would cost you? And like, how much do you think you would make on it? Obviously, it depends on what you're finding.
Yeah,
but like,
let's say
hypothetically,
let's say I take a 30-day road trip. I would say it probably runs. I mean, if I'm staying at hotels or Airbnbs the entire trip, I don't have any, like, I'm not staying with any other friends, family, or resellers along the way. I would say it costs probably $350 to $400 a day to survive, because hotels have gotten a lot more expensive. When I used to do road trips, 5-6 years ago, I would be getting Holiday Inns for like $70 a night. And now it's like you're in the middle of nowhere staying at the Roach Motel for $150, so it gets a little challenging. But yeah, I'd say usually we can get a hotel for about, $120 to $180 a night. Obviously I try to get the best hotel for the cheapest money every night. And then you got to factor in gas and then also, eating and stuff like that. So it's about $350 to $400 a day just to survive each day on the road. And then also, obviously, I'm still paying bills at home while I'm on the road too. So you have to make a decent amount of profit just to, be able to withstand both of those, heavy expenses, which we can do because, like, obviously, if I source at home, I'm hitting the same stores. I'm not able to make that profit at every single time I go. But we go to a new city, I can hit the stores once, go to the next city, hit the stores once, and then I may not come back for 6 months or a year. And by the time I come back, there's new stuff or it's replenished or whatever. So that way I can do it again. So it evens out pretty good, and I've spent a lot of time learning, all the good, rare, old toys, old video games and stuff like that, where the ROI on that stuff can be a lot higher, which can, withstand the expenses on the trip.
I feel like that's probably like a good strategy too, because that's what I used to do with books. Like I would thrift, like my area, obviously, pretty much daily, but then I would go to like Philly, I would go to DC, I would go to all these different places, and I would just like Google like where the thrift stores are and go to these places, and you're basically taking like a mini trip. For books, it's a lot easier because it's like the profit's much higher, and you're paying like $1 per. But the cool thing about that, like what jogged my memory, it's like, oh, I haven't been here in 6 months. There's probably tons of stuff that people like didn't scan or left behind. So then I go, if you do a really good job scanning, especially for books, you could pick up a ton. But if you're going to the same spot every day or every week, the less likely that people are leaving stuff behind, especially if you're good at what you do because you're taking all of it, is pretty slim.
Yeah, definitely.
And when you're doing the RA stuff, is your RA and your OA catalog kind of the same, or do you do different RA and different OA? Because I know the common conception, I guess, is you learn the RA and then you take it to OA. But is yours split that way, or is it different?
The OA is completely different because everything that I'm doing RA for, not everything, but I would say probably, I don't know, 95% of the stuff I do RA, you can't get OA anymore. Because I do a lot of like one-off mom and pop, toy stores and stuff like that. And so like they're carrying stuff that's been, discontinued for, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 years off the market where you can't even find that stuff anymore. And then so OA, I'm not good at. I'd say that's probably my weakest point when it comes to sourcing for Amazon. Like I might like have a really, really good month where I source with, say, I don't know, I spend 15 grand doing OA one month. And then I might go the next 3 months and spend maybe 5 grand total. Like, so, and that's probably very, very low. If you guys doing OA, I'm sure you're probably spending way more than that every month. And so I only seem to do well at it if there's a good deal, or like maybe some, like Walmart comes in on a really rare item and I'm able to just scoop up a couple hundred of them. Like sometimes I might spend 5K one month and it's like one OA buy, one toy, but I got, 100 of them or 500 of them or something. So yeah, my OA game is pretty weak, honestly.
I feel like that's a big advantage though. I almost feel like, because no one really wants to do RA. Like everyone's flocking to OA. I feel like when I started books, everyone was just like, oh, like if you wanna, I don't know. It was there probably was OA, but not like it was today. It was basically like you either did books, private label, or RA.
Yeah.
And then there was like, I guess, I don't even know when OA came about. I mean, I only learned about it like 3 years ago, probably. I was just doing books.
So when you're talking about the toys and stuff, I think I was looking through your Instagram. You have some Lego stuff. Are you kind of into the whole Lego investing type of style?
Yeah, I tried it. I suck at it. I was really bad at it. I mean, I made money overall, but the length that I had to hold some of this stuff for to like make a 10% ROI or break even, like it just wasn't worth it. So it was a mixture of inexperience. Like I went into it like, oh man, if I can get, this theme Lego at half off retail, it's gonna be worth money in a year or two. Like, so I would just go out like, oh, Harry Potter, oh, Star Wars, Lego Friends or whatever. If it was half off retail, I was just buying it and throwing it in my storage. Like, oh man, this is genius. This is the easiest way going to be the easiest way to make money. Like, unfortunately, it didn't work out that way. I would say overall, I made a little bit of money off everything, but I ended up just taking all my Lego holds that I had, for the last couple of years, and I just sent everything in and I sold it all and just got back my cash that I could get for it. And then I'm just gonna, pivot and try something new. I'll probably do it a little bit in the future. I just will have to probably be more tight knit on what I do. Probably go after more store exclusives and stuff like that. Because it just, overall, I just wasn't happy with the results on it.
Dude, that's exactly what I would say about it. I did a bunch of that in 2020 and I had so many in my closet and I'm like, I'm just going to send these out. Like, how am I going to hold these for 6 years to get 40% or whatever?
Exactly.
It makes
yeah.
And it's just like it feels like it's propagated on social media that it's like the greatest opportunity. And when you see it, you're like, this is pretty easy. But I think a lot of those guys that talk about it are experts in it. So to them, it's easy. But we make one bad buy of 100 Legos and then now you're wiped out, even if you do make money on a bunch of the other ones. So I came to the same conclusion. I'm like, this just isn't worth my time.
Yeah, definitely. No, it isn't. It's depressing walking by your room or storage every day and just seeing them there waving at you. It's like,
and I feel that way about returns, like, because I have the returns. I was using a service, now they come back to me and I'm just like in my office just looking at stuff. I'm just like a pile of like $2,000 right there, and it's like, what are you gonna do with it? Like half of it's damaged, the other half's like, I don't feel like listing it on eBay. It's a nightmare.
Yeah, I hate to look at it from this perspective, but I have a bunch of returns like literally around me now. And I'm like, this is all the money I've made. I've basically been paid in dirty shoes and like broken stuff. Like, this is pretty bad. And Legos are even worse. It's like I have 400 Olivia's cupcake factories to pay me out for my profit. But, I guess that's just the nature of the game.
Yeah, I think that too. A lot of people, I feel like there are a lot of Lego investing groups now. You see all these
Hmm.
like blog posts how Legos beat the S&P, but it's like anything else. It's like they have a couple sets that do really well. Um, but overall, yeah, you don't see the losses as much.
Hmm.
How do you handle cash flow if you're doing like a lot of buy and hold, or if you're holding Legos for 2 years, or you're just selling a lot of other profitable things to kind of just allow for that?
Yeah. Again, cash flow was definitely not probably one of my strong suits last year. I definitely overextended myself on doing long-term holds, and I thought like I'd be able to figure it out. And there was multiple times where I would run out of cash, and like I remember Black Friday, everybody's spending tens of thousands of dollars that day, and I was like I spent like 10 grand because I didn't have enough money to store. Credit cards were maxed, so I was like, all right, you know what, like Amazon's not getting any easier. It's definitely getting more challenging. Obviously there's ways for everybody to win, but let's say it's not as easy today as it was 3 years ago. So I was like, all right, I need to pull back. I sat down with my coach and just myself and just went through and I'm like, okay, what's working in this business for me and what's not working? Because I'm hemorrhaging, I'm losing money in so many areas where I'm doing long-term holds. I'm paying storage at my prep. I'm paying 2 storage units at home. I have, and it was like, dude, I'm spending like, I had like 3 prep centers that were holding wholesale deals and buys for me, and I had storage units, and I'm like, I'm spending like over $2,000 a month just on store, not Amazon storage, like between prep centers. I'm like, I'm throwing 2 grand away just to potentially make money on this stuff one day, like, or like maybe a wholesale buy that didn't work out, where it's like everything looked good on Keepa. You did a group buy with people, and then just next thing you know, it just goes to crap. So I was like, you know what? I'm gonna have to reassess the way I run my business and my life. So I decided to just cut the losses on like almost everything I had sitting in storages and stuff, and just started selling down, selling down, selling down. And now I paid down a bunch of my debt, paid down a bunch of credit cards. A lot of them are back down to zero, and I'm just using cash now to source. I'm using my Spark card, but then I'm paying it off right away. So I
Mm.
don't want to get caught up in that where I'm like my credit debt's getting too much for the amount of cash that I have. So I really kind of like set back on buying this year, and I'm like very focused on what I'm buying, and I make sure I'm only buying it if I feel 100% confident in it being profitable and being good. I'm not speculating anymore. I like totally turned off the speculation. Like, oh, this is going to be good in a month because so and so, da da da. Nope, I'm not buying it. If it isn't good and I don't feel that it's going to sell good now, I'm not messing with it. So I went from like 2 grand a month in storage paying to I think I'm down to about 800 a month in storage between all my storage units and prep centers and stuff like that now. So I cut it in over half by selling down inventory and getting cash, and I'm going to continue to get those down lower. I have two $300 storage units that I'm in the process of getting down to 1 unit, and that'll be just like my wholesale replen. I just replen that every couple of months when my wholesale stuff sells down. And I'm really just trying to like plug my holes, because like, yeah, it's cool to like grow your business and sales, but it's like the bigger I get, it's like the more I'm finding ways I'm losing money in other areas because I'm so focused on like trying to sell, sell, sell. So I'm like, all right, you know what? Even if I sell less this year than I did last year, I would rather fix my mistakes, because then I'm going to make more money at the end of the day. So like this year, it's more on just learning how to fix my mistakes, plug my holes where I'm leaking, and so good thing now that I have my fiance on with me. She's a lot better at like spreadsheets and keeping track and stuff like that. So like she can help me in those areas to where I suck at.
Yeah, and I think the mental game of not having all that debt compared to your cash also helps. It keeps you in a
It
better
really
state. I
does.
think that I noticed myself getting. Well, I've took the stance of always trying to be like that, but even when it gets close, it's like, man, I need to drop some prices, or I need to find some way better deals. When sometimes it's just like not possible to really do that.
Hmm.
It gets you like all messed up because you're like, I don't even know if I'm gonna have money next month or whatever. I think that's like such a common cycle a lot of people get into. So I think that's a very important point that anyone can really take from that.
Yeah, yeah. It's easy to get lost in this business and the buys and just shopping and like, oh crap, I'm out of money. It's super easy to do that.
Yeah, I
We,
think too, especially if you have like 3 different storage units and like all these prep centers, it's either for stuff to just get lost. Like, did I buy that? Is it coming to my house? Is it going there? I think, yeah, as the business grows, ideally you're making more money. But yeah, I don't know. For me, when I scaled it up, I think, yeah, you just get lost in the numbers kind of, and almost start to focus on what's going really well and kind of
Mm-hmm.
forget about that stuff that's not selling or that isn't
Yep.
being repriced. 'Cause you're like, oh, I just got to get more of this, and oh, I should get more of this, and then all of a sudden it's like, where the hell is all the money? And then you look at your inventory, you're like, oh, like a quarter of this isn't moving at
Mm-hmm.
all. Like I need to get rid of this like ASAP. Yeah, it's just really hard to stay on top of it, especially as you grow. When you have 100 ASINs, it's not that bad. But as
Mm-hmm.
you scale up and climb, and I think a lot of people underestimate too. It's like stuff like sells good, and sometimes for me, it's like I'm like, oh yeah, I probably sold out of that, but there's like one or two hanging out that like
Mm-hmm.
didn't catch the buy box, and then you end up with all these ones and twos, and it's like really annoying to reprice
Yep.
because it's just so annoying. And then they finally sell. It's just, oh, it's so annoying.
So, like when you went through the process of doing that, you said that you cleared out all those storage units. Did you have an estimate beforehand? Because I'm currently going through that. I'm about to have a bunch of returns, all this inventory that I've either held or exact same situation. I'm like, I think I'm going to get this much cash back. And two questions on that. So, how much did you think, and then how much did you actually get, and then how difficult was it really to liquidate all that stuff? Or did it take longer? Kind of like where did you think it was going to happen, and then what actually happened with all of it?
So I had all this stuff, some of the stuff I had for, 1 to 3 years. Like, who wants to hold a Lego set for 3 years and it still be, 10% ROI break even? So I was like holding, and I teetered for like a year of just all this stuff. Like, oh, man, I put so much work and effort into buying this, like, and then it's like, do I dump it? And I'm like, no, I'm being stubborn. I'm just gonna hold it. Like, I don't want to like have to sell it at a loss or break even or make 10% or 20 or whatever. So finally, come in like last August, I'm just like, not only is it just a lot of money tied up and all that, but it also like surprising. It's like almost like you're just like stuffing your brain with just trash and just so much stress and just BS. And it's like once like where I'm at now, I feel so much lighter, healthier, happier. I feel like I can operate better as a human. I'm in such a better mood because all that shit is gone. Like, so I just made you know what? Q4 is here. Whether it's good or bad, let's just dump everything that's just sitting here. Let's just get rid of it. And I mean, it flies. Almost. I would say 80% of everything just flew. Whether it was profitable, it was a loss. Some stuff I was selling at a 70% loss. Some stuff was 100%. I would say it ended up like all the stuff I had held was probably, I don't know, probably that I did sell was probably, I don't know, maybe 70 to 80K buy cost. And I probably made with, some of it was at my prep center, so I had to pay them storage, I had to pay them to prep the items, and some of the stuff here was, in my storage units here. I probably overall maybe cleared 10% ROI off of everything, like with all the ups and downs of everything. Which better than a loss. But honestly, I feel better. Like I feel I'm running my business way better 2024 already. Like I'm making good decisions. I'm making good buying decisions. I'm being strategic because like before I'd be like, oh, that's a good buy. Okay, cool, boom. All right, 1,000 units. Not even thinking like, who cares how long it'll take to sell? It'll just be there. I'll trickle them out, and then it's like, holy crap, that ended up being a really stupid mistake. So like, I'm testing myself where it's like I'll limit myself to like 5 or 10 units on a buy. Before I would not even mess with that. Like, dude, 5 units. What am I gonna do with 5 units? I want 500 units. So I'm like trying to like go a little bit wider as opposed to going deep. I'll still go deep when the opportunity is right, but I'm trying to spread out so that way when I do make a mistake, it's a small mistake now. And honestly, I feel much better. I feel this year is going to be the best year yet. And honestly, like I feel like I just like recycled everything in my life. Like I like feel like I turned into a minimalist in a sense because all that inventory is like pretty much gone. Not all of it, but like 80% of it's gone, and I just feel so much better. And I paid down so much debt this year from it. Like it feels amazing.
I'm so glad to hear that. You got me motivated. Like I've got a friend moving up in a week, and that's his whole job is going to be like sell everything, Facebook, Amazon, eBay, whatever it is. And I was hoping that would be the conclusion of it. And I'm happy to hear you say that because I'm like, man, it's so I don't know what it is. It's about just clutter, I guess, and junk in your life, and then you feel like I can't focus because I have nothing is focused. Like nothing's clean. I have all this shit, so my life's going to be kind of like that. That's how I felt. It's like it's just so much junk.
Yep.
Yeah. I'm glad to hear that. You got me motivated now because I'm like, I
Awesome,
need to get
bro.
rid of this stuff. It's going to help me. So that's awesome.
Yeah, I definitely feel that with the returns for sure. Cause you're just every day, like one or two comes, and then it's like, oh, like I don't want to get rid of this, or you're just compiling them. And eventually it just like adds up. And then you just have
Mm-hmm.
like 2, 3, 4 grand worth of returns just sitting here. And it's always painful to send it in because a lot of the stuff with books, it didn't matter because you just send it back in or DVD. But now, once something's opened, like I'm not selling anything used on Amazon, so
Yeah.
it's almost a loss. The For Christmas, I just did like a big secret Santa with all the stuff. It's just because like some of the stuff just not worth sending back in
Mm-hmm.
or trying to. I don't know. I have a hard time. Like a lot of people tell me, "Oh, you just have to get whatever you can for it." But I don't know if I almost feel sometimes I'm throwing good money, my
Mm-hmm.
time for bad. What am I gonna do? List it on eBay and get my like $5 back, but spend an hour like taking pictures, listing it, shipping it out. If someone on Amazon returned it, the eBay person could have a problem with it. Am I gonna plug everything in? And it's just too much for me. So I think this year I'm making the decision to either one, just lot it all up in a big Home Depot box or maybe a Staples box because Jameson's giving me shit that I should be using Staples boxes. Um, and sell it on Facebook Marketplace for like $100 for the box as like Amazon returns, or maybe through doing that find a partnership with someone who will like sell it on eBay or something like that. Because one thing I have noticed too, it's always nice to have a lot of people are like, oh, you have an extra stream with eBay, it's extra money, but like you also have to manage that. It's one
Yeah.
more thing to manage, one more customer that's more hands-on, something to take pictures of, and then it just takes your focus off of the big picture Amazon. And as long as you're running a profitable business and you try to sell things that don't get returned, but it just happens, I do think people waste a lot of time trying to get everything back when they would
Mm-hmm.
just be better off taking the write-off, the loss, and getting rid of it, or selling
Yeah.
it in bulk, or just giving it away. And I think the mental clarity too for me is just this is done. It's a write off. That's it. It's getting out of the house. I'm not looking at it anymore. And I'm gonna try to really do that. This like my
You ever
girlfriend like really helped me out. She was listing it on Facebook Marketplace, but then people just cancel and it's like, oh, I'm doing a podcast, and it's like, oh, can someone come at like 2:30? It's like no, like
you
it's
ever
just too annoying for me.
I I think what I'm gonna do, I don't know if this is smart. I want to just try it out, but I think that like maybe twice a year, I'm gonna start doing like a garage sale where I just try to
That's
recoup cash for all my returns, all my broken stuff, everything that just doesn't work out, and then like whatever doesn't sell at that point, then find
donate.
some way just to get rid of it at that point. Whether you just write it off, you donate it, you throw it in a big box, say here, $100 for all this crap. Um, and then I think a mixture with that too, because so many resellers go to garage sales. Like I feel you could meet resellers if you host a garage
Mm,
sale. You could just find someone that will just buy all your inventory for you,
Yep.
um, which is great. I have a guy with that I have all my Amazon removal orders and returns go directly to my eBay guy, and he lists it on eBay for me, and then we just split it 50-50, whatever he gets after
mm.
fees and shipping. So I don't even have to see it because I don't know about how you guys mentally handle it, but I freaking cannot stand where I get back a return and they either swapped it out or like it's a $200 Lego set and a Kohl's label is slapped. Like I just freaking makes me so mad to see
It
a
happened to me the other
mint
day.
condition Lego set with a big square label cut out on it. Like I just pisses me off to see that. Or like they buy a pair of shoes and then they return two left shoes. Like where did you get the extra left shoe and why did you steal the right one? You know? And that's just the annoyance of that. Like I know it's like small cost of doing business. It's very
Yeah.
small in the grand scheme of things. We're making money, but it still just pisses me off when I see dishonesty like that. So I goes to my eBay guy. I don't even gotta see it. He sells it, and I just get a few $100 a month from whatever he's selling, and it makes it easy. And then I definitely am gonna do the garage sale thing this year when the weather gets a little bit warmer. I just want to test it out, see if profitable in the sense of can I recoup a good amount more money doing this maybe twice a year as opposed to just donating it or selling it by the box to someone. And I'm going to try to meet some resellers that I can hopefully connect with locally that I can say, hey, every month, come through, buy this, and then you can just take it or whatever.
Well, I
I had
have
that happen.
a little trick for that. If you get on eBay, this is something I did when I was moving apartments. So I was like, I had to get rid of stuff. Get on eBay and look at like what you had. So at the moment I had shoes, a lot of shoes. I would look up Nike shoes and then sort the location within 20 miles and then message all those sellers. And then now the problem I ran into, which this is a funny story, and this might make me sound like a bit of an asshole, but I got this person that came over and they ran this, like they said, big eBay business, but big like eBay business and what we would do on Amazon is far different. I learned. And he was like, yeah, we have lots of cash and we're ready to like buy your stuff. And I think lots of cash is probably what, 20, 30 grand, something like that. They're ready to buy a lot. And then we get into the deal. They pick out probably $11,000 worth of stuff. And he's like, yeah, I think we can take this probably like 1,500 or 2K. And I was like, you said you had lots of cash, man. you have a grand. Like, what are you talking about? So you do have to be careful with who you're getting on there, because they knew where I was at, and it's like I just made the worst deal of my life. I lost 90% of my buy cost on this stuff. But I think that if you get the right seller, and it's not like a penny pincher type of eBay seller, you could probably get cash.
It's challenging because it's two different mindsets too. Because I'm a completely different. I'm sure you guys noticed. Like when I was on eBay. Like I was super stingy in life and in business, and like I didn't care if like this water bottle is worth $200. Like I'm not paying more than $4 for it. Like just that it's a different mindset, and it just like even like in my personal life and my business I'm a completely different person when I used to be a full-time eBay seller to where I am now. It's just a different mindset, and because like you're so used to getting stuff so cheap that it's hard to comprehend you spending $100 on one item when you're getting shoes for $1, whatever, coffee cups for $0.25, it's so different way of thinking. So yeah, like I totally understand that like a lot of money was $1,000, like.
Yeah, that's exactly what I ran into. I had somebody offer me like quarters for these brand new shoes. I'm like, dude, I'll like at least give me a little bit of retail for it. I'm like, this is what you're saying is so true. It's just the mindset thing, which I just didn't ever think of that, because I started on eBay too, but it wasn't. I was selling new stuff as well, like COVID stuff. So I didn't get the whole quarter and the dollar stuff. So I just didn't even know that mindset existed. I'm like, how are you guys surviving out here? But I mean, it's part of it. But I think it would work. I mean, I think if you found the right kind of person that sold lots of new stuff, not the used antique stuff, I think you could do it. And it's easy to find them. You're populating all the people selling stuff in your area if you do that.
Yeah, that's smart. Yeah, thank you for that. I actually really like that tip. I'm going to definitely do that when it comes to.
Hey, you'll have to let me know if it works, or if you get somebody that rips you off like they did.
100%. Hopefully, you get a good story out of it.
I feel like Facebook Marketplace is good for that too. I've definitely done that when I was doing the book business. Like I found a buyer for DVDs, all my dud DVDs, because for the books, when I was doing it, I had a recycler, but they wouldn't take the DVDs and CDs because they're just recycling paper. And I was like, what am I going to do with these? So I started posting like lots of them. I just post at Home Depot boxes. I would get like 10 of them and be like, oh, DVDs, CDs. I was like totally upfront about it. Like, hey, I run an online business. These aren't a good fit for my business. Let me know. I think I put them at like $40 a box or something, and I think 120 fit in a box, so they're pretty cheap. And then people, I think the market's died down, but they would go and there are these like huge yard sales, and people would go sell DVDs there. And I was like, who is buying these? And his biggest customer was like people who RV, because there's no Wi-Fi. And they just buy DVDs to watch, I guess, where they're hanging out or whatever. So he came and he's like, I'll buy whatever you have. And then we just kind of had this relationship. And eventually he started buying them by the Gaylord. And then I was like, do you buy anything else? He's like, oh yeah, I have. Basically, he had a warehouse. So he was buying all my Amazon returns. I was only getting like $2-3 per thing.
Yeah.
But I mean, it was what it was. I think one of the hardest parts about what a lot of people don't think about is like these Amazon returns is like shipping for eBay. Like if you want to sell a pair of shoes, it's probably going to cost you like $10-15 to ship.
Yeah.
And then you have to do it. And I think what Drew was saying too, just when people are offering you like next to nothing, you're already pissed off because you have these returns and in a bad mood about it. And you're like, all right, cool. This guy's going to I want like 15, like I'm good to settle with him at like maybe 7,500. And they're like, how about 1,000? And you're like, what? Like, are you kidding me? It just makes the situation 10 times worse.
Yeah. Well, I want to wrap back around to something you said at the beginning. You were saying you had the drug problem, and then you did the World of Warcraft for 4 or 5 years. Was there like a reflection moment in that kind of made you think? Because I think a lot of people find themselves in these situations where maybe it's not as extreme as that, but you're in this kind of part in life, and I feel like, do you have to hit the rock bottom or the breaking point to make a big change, or you think it was more of a gradual change that happened for you back then?
I'd say for me, both. I definitely needed that rock bottom, but after I got sober from drugs, like I didn't change as a person. Like what led me to that point. Like I still had the same mindset towards life, towards people, towards friends, relationships. I was still just a very toxic, unhealthy, just I don't know, piece of crap. Honestly, like I was just a really shitty person. Um, like now, the more addicted I got to the drugs, the worse decisions I made to get those drugs. Like I would never consider myself someone. I mean, I'm an honest person. I don't steal, but like I resulted to stealing and breaking into houses when I got to that, which I was never that person. But it's like you get to that point with drugs where it's like the withdrawal gets so bad that it's like you will do anything almost to not have to feel what it feels like to withdraw from painkillers. And so you start doing stupid things just because you want to avoid. You don't even do it to get high. You just do it to avoid withdrawal. And I went to rehab 4 times. Eventually, after the 4th try, I stayed sober. But then I stayed in that crappy life. I was still, just being a loser, a mooch, horrible mindset, like not dealing with past traumas and BS and the way I was raised and everything. And I still had the mindset where I blamed everybody else. And so it was a gradual change. I think I was probably, I don't even know, maybe I'm 41 now. I was probably 33-ish when I was like 32-ish, where I was like, okay, like clearly my life sucks and I'm the reason for that. Like one thing I will still always like give a lot of love to like Gary Vee is because like he preaches personal responsibility. Take everything in your life is your fault. And like that really stuck with me because like, dude, my life sucked and it was because of me. It was because of the decisions I made. And so I slowly learned from that. It was like one stepping thing. And then I got into, all the other motivational speakers, Eric Thomas, Tony Robbins, and stuff like that. And started buying the books, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, all that stuff. And then started going to Tony Robbins events, hired a coach. And this is, all over between now. I still have that coach. And it was like, I'm 8-9 years into my self-development phase. And every day I'm, learning, getting better, still growing. And honestly, like I would say one of the biggest things about changing was me taking personal responsibility for my actions. Like it's not your fault for how you're born, what you're born into. You can't control that. You're a baby, whatever. But like once you're a grown adult, you're a man, you're a grown adult, and you still live like that, like that's 100% your fault. Like you can change that. You can kick the people out of your life. You can grow, you can heal, you can get healthy. Like if you're still around toxic people that do shitty things, well then and you're adult and you're blamed, like, no, that's your fault. You can remove yourself from that. It may take time. It may take years to save up enough money, get a job, blah, 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 do all the things to get out of that. But you can leave that. Like I had to cut every single person off of my life from 10 years ago, from drugs, all the unhealthy people. I don't really talk to any of those people anymore. And I haven't seen any of them. I got in my car and I drove away from Minnesota where I live. And I haven't seen family, friends, mom. Like I literally had to turn my back on everybody to get healthy. And now where I'm at now, it was one of the hardest, best decisions I ever made, and I don't regret any of it.
Yeah, that's an amazing story. Yeah, the personal responsibility stuff. I've been big on that recently, of telling people that stuff. I think it's just difficult for people to grasp. Which you said it even took you up to 33 years old, right, to do that. But yeah, I guess it's almost like a protection mechanism to just excuses. It's not ever my fault. But maybe it's not actually your fault, but it's definitely your responsibility. Like no matter what happens to you, there's some way that you can perceive it. Like I like how Hormozy looks at all of it too. It's like a lot of these problems that are negative, it's like it's only negative because you think it's negative. It's not actually negative. Whatever. If it was a different time period, it could be positive. You know what I mean? So it is your review on things and what's actually happened in your life. So I love that story, man. It's amazing. Yeah, I was watching a podcast with you on it and you were breaking it down. I'm like, I got to hear more on this because I think there's like more to pull out of it, especially, which I think you did a great job at that. So it's awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah, I also think like Hormozy would say, even if it's not your fault, it's now your problem. So it doesn't even matter. So you got to fix it or do wherever
I like that.
you got to do awesome. Where you're at.
Yeah, but it's like your mind and your body's really telling you. I think it's protecting you from doing that because it doesn't feel good. It doesn't feel good to look in the mirror and go like, all this is my like problem here. I have to
It's
deal with it. So
it's
yeah,
challenging to
sometimes it
do.
takes,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's super
And it's
challenging.
something I guess you have to work on, right?
Yeah, I had I had in the mixture of all that, like I ended up stopped talking to my dad like 20 years ago, and he reached out to me like a year or year and a half ago. I think he said like he found a YouTube video of me or something like that, and he just reached out, hey, proud of you, blah 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 blah. And I was like, I haven't seen him in 20 years. Do I want to have this conversation? He gave me his number, and I was kind of like, do I want to, like one, do I need him in my life? No. Two, is there anything he can teach me or help me become a better person at this point in my life? No. But I was like, you know what? I talked to my coach. He was like, maybe on the surface, you don't want to do it or don't need to do it, but he's like, you're going to grow some way, shape, or form for having this conversation with your father. So I was like, okay. I reached out to him. We ended up talking on the phone for like an hour. And we had a good conversation. He apologized for being a crappy dad and all that stuff. And then he was, I was telling him about my life story a little bit and how I got to where I am. And I had this similar conversation. And I think didn't change till I took personal responsibility. And then after my 15-minute spiel of how I changed my life, he was like, yeah, man. And then his response was, yeah, things just in life just didn't really work out for me. I had a lot of bad. I'm just like, I just had a 15-minute conversation with you, how I changed my life and how I got to where I'm at. And then he's just like, yeah, he was like, it's just a protection thing, maybe just he was blaming everybody else around him. Like he tried to do it in a different way to make it sound like he wasn't, but he was. And I'm just like, and he's like 65, I don't know, 60 something years old. He's pretty old, like not healthy, I don't think. And I was just kind of like, damn, like, and I was cool. We had the conversation. It was, good for growth and stuff like that. And, it's always nice to like kind of remember where you came from and all that stuff. I was just like, man, like when you get to that age and you still haven't taken personal responsibility, it's like, man, like, are you, like it was just like kind of like a kick in the face, like, dang, like like you could be 60 and still not take personal responsibility for your actions as a man. Like it was crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I struggle sometimes because I give lots of advice like that too. I'm sure it seems like you're probably similar to me in that way. You go on spills, you try to give people like, listen, this is the reality, this is how you can fix things, and like it seems no one wants to listen to you about anything. And I almost battle sometimes with like, am I just wasting my breath overall? And no matter what I say to some people, it's just going to take a cataclysmic moment in their life to change it or some low point, which is sad, I think, in the reality to thinking that like all this stuff that I see that could change, all these things that could change, it's like maybe nothing at the end of the day could happen until really something bad happens, which is like, in my opinion, like really sad, but it might just be the way of the road, which I'm sure you've seen similar things, especially with a more extreme background and that type of stuff.
Yeah, I think it's too, like not taking the responsibility, especially like I hated my job for so long and it was just like, well, this is on you. Like you choose to come here every day. I feel like a lot of times you're just like, well, I have to go. It's like, well, you don't have to do anything. Like maybe you need the money, but it doesn't mean you have to go to your job. A lot of people say, oh, I have to do this, I have to do that. I was like, no. And it was like more like, well, this is on you. I remember that was the first thing. I just moved to Pennsylvania. I basically blew through all my savings. And I was like, I just couldn't live in New York anymore and basically start over. And I get to my job or whatever. I finally get it. It turns out they only pay like once a month. And the next pay isn't for like 30 days. And I get my car inspected and I need new tires. And it was like $1,200. And I remember just sitting there being like this like knot in my stomach. Like, oh my God, like what am I gonna do? Like, I wasn't gonna call my parents or anything. Like, but it was just more like it's not like I could work overtime. It was a marketing job, right? It's like you're stuck. Like you have no way to make money. Like what the hell are you gonna do? Like I had like the $1,000. I was like, well, I'll like put it on a credit card and then hopefully when I get paid, like it will be fine. But you're going through life, you're like, oh, I hope nothing happens. Like if something else, it was just a shitty way to live. And now it's like I always remember every time I need new tires, like I hate to pay for it, but it's like, damn, like I remember when I couldn't pay for this, where it was a real struggle. And I'm glad like I'm just not sitting at that desk job anymore because what I feel with that, it's sometimes I know it's an unpopular like a thing to do, and there's definitely a lot of people who crush it who work in these like big companies and make a shitload of money. But just the idea that, I mean, I guess Amazon's like our faith is in Amazon's hands, but we all have like things we could monetize. God
Hmm.
forbid something went wrong with Amazon. And I think just the ability to take responsibility for your finances and be able to change it
Yeah.
um, is just a huge thing. And I would encourage anyone watching this, even you could just sell stuff in your house or do whatever, because if you have the ability to make money, you'll always be fine. It's like when you're relying on a boss, or a lot of people learn like during COVID when they shut down the office or couldn't go to work that no one cared about them, and it is what it was. And then if you're like worked at a business that got shut down, your best place to work would be a similar business, but they're all shut down. So
Hmm.
the idea to be able to make your own money, or at least try to do it and just take responsibility for it and like kind of start where you're at, I think is really underrated. And I think a lot of people, I thought it was stupid to scam books or sell furniture. I was embarrassed. I'm like emailing like this old lady's like, oh, can I get the chairs you have for $40 for $10 in hopes I could sell them for 20. And then that turns into this huge like Amazon business like years later. But if I never took that first step, like I wouldn't even know you guys probably.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I think another important point to talk, well, you were talking about earlier about leaving the life behind and stuff is, how do you go about today of not letting toxic people in your life, especially with social media? I'm sure you're getting hit up by a lot of different people wanting connections to be made. How do you like kind of keep that circle and the peace like together and not let those toxic people, even if, sometimes it doesn't seem as toxic, on the outside, but is there a kind of a system you have for that? Or I'm sure you have a really good bullshit detector at this point for people, but
Yeah.
how do you kind of look at that type of thing nowadays?
Yeah, definitely. That's a good question. I have gotten so good at just, building healthy friendships and relationships now that like I very, very, very rarely attract anybody toxic. Like I think the toxic people are just maybe see and they're like, all right, let's just go another direction. Like I rarely have any issues with friends. Like I don't hang out, I don't really talk to people that are like gossiping or like talk crap or like people that are like constantly in like battles or arguments with other people and stuff. Like I just don't deal with any of that. Like no one ever comes to me to gossip, and no one ever comes at me with drama. Like no one's like, not even like a buddy of mine would be like, dude, I'm dealing with this, how blah blah blah. Like people don't even come with me for that stuff because I'm a drama-free zone. So like once you stop allowing or entertaining gossip and drama, people will stop coming at you with it, even to talk to you about it or tell you about it. Like, oh, so and so sold this for me to do this, blah 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 blah. They don't even come to me anymore because they know I'm not going to tolerate. I'm not even going to listen to it. I'm shut that down. Bring that somewhere else. Like if you're not like I don't mind hearing my friends' problems when they're dealing with an issue, but like if you're talking about that same problem for like 6 months and you haven't tried to change it, okay, well then let's sit down and have a discussion. Like maybe we're not aligned to be friends. Maybe I should go over here, you go over there, because clearly you're not trying to do anything to solve that problem. And so I very rarely get people who come at me with BS. But like, like obviously there are some toxic people everywhere you go, especially, even like, you go to Amazon events, you go to networking events, you go to conventions or whatever, like you're going to run into people. And I'm always friendly, nice, cordial to everybody that I meet. And then, if I align with people, I may spend more time with them. And if I align with them less, then I won't, I won't spend as much time with them. But, obviously, like you're in groups of people sometimes at Amazon events, some people are crazy, some people are cool. And it's like, if it's like for a night, a year, or here or there, like obviously you can tolerate everybody in the group and you can focus in that group where all the, the good energy is. So it's, eventually it becomes natural where you just, people don't come at you with it. And then people don't even on Instagram, like I rarely get any BS coming at me just because I just, think they go a different direction, and I just, do a good job at just not attracting that stuff.
Yeah, it sounds like kind of like you set boundaries for what you
Yeah.
tolerate, and then eventually it's kind of just in the air that the boundaries are set, and then people just don't come to you with that type of stuff anymore. I love that.
Exactly. Yeah, because people will treat you how you allow them to treat you. Like if you set up say you guys are going to meet for coffee, and you're like, okay, let's be there at 12, and then one guy's there at 12, and the other guy shows up at 12:30, and then he shows up at 12:30, and then you just have the conversation with him like nothing happened. Then the next time you meet at 12 o'clock, that guy's going to continue to show up late because you allowed him to. You set that boundary, like, hey, like my time is important, your time is important. You said you'd be here at 12, you weren't. Okay, please, don't allow that to happen again. If it happens again, okay, well, guess what? I don't think I'm going to set any more times to hang out with you. And then you don't hang out with that person anymore if they're not going to respect you as a person. Because once they don't have respect for you, then, it's like, another one too, this is kind of a little bit left field, but like, I don't hang out with people who cheat. Like, whether you're a man or a woman, you're in a, you're married or whatever, and you have children and you're like cheating on your spouse. And once in a while, you'll kind of hear about it or see about it at, within the community over the years. You hear stories and things. And I just, if I hear something about that person like doing something like that, like I'll just not even entertain having a conversation with them, because like you owe your wife or your husband that commitment to your children to be a leader, provider, whatever, and you can screw them over. Like, there's no telling what you're going to do to me. Like, you owe them something. You don't owe me anything. So if you can go out and do that to them, there's no telling what you're going to do to me. So I don't even want to even say hello to you. I'm not even shaking your hand. Like, so it's like, just learn everything that you will tolerate, what you won't tolerate. Stick with people who align with your morals and values, and honestly, like, everything's going to work out good. And just because people, once they know your boundaries and you're not that person to put up with that BS, like, they won't even come and bother you with it.
Yeah, it's all just so extremely important. It's almost like I try to say, like, it's 2-strike rule. Like, they can mess up once, but after the second time, because really 3's too much. Like, if someone's going to mess up once and redo the action, you're completely right. They lose. It's complete total respect. I've even told my friends this about like girls and stuff. It's like, man, if it's twice, you obviously have to know what's going on. They just don't respect your time. They don't respect this. And then from then on out, you've set a precedent for that relationship that you're not a person to respect, whether it be a friend or a girl or whatever it is.
100%.
Yeah, that's.
So I think so much aligns too with business. So let's speak for men in our, like, in business and in relationships and dating. So much stuff goes hand in hand of what, because like you can, like, say you set up a date with a woman and she bails on you. Like, to me, like, if I'm single and I'm dating, like, if she doesn't push to set up another time to fix it, then clearly she's not interested. And two, if you continue to chase her, be like, hey, when we hang out and go, she's not going to respect you as a man or in the relationship. Like, you don't want to hang out with, spend time with women that want to be around you. Same thing with your friends, your business, everything. Like, there's so much, correlation lines up with business and dating, Yeah. And if you don't 100%. Have respect for yourself, no one else can have respect for you either.
Yeah, and it's back even to the personal responsibility thing. It's like, if you're seeing these things happen, you're going to throw them to the side and not actually pay attention to these minute details. It's a you problem. Like, these people around you, if people are constantly treating you like shit and not respecting you, it's probably not all the people's problem. Like, it's probably just you allowing copious amounts of disrespect, which, I think it's a really important message, whether it be for dating or business or whatever it is. And I think a lot of people, they just don't have that self-respect. But that's what you get also, I think, from taking all the personal responsibility, because you develop the internal confidence to, like, I've even talked to John about something I don't want to go too into detail about, but we'll ask guests to be on the podcast and stuff. And like, I have a pretty hard rule in my head about how I stand on that kind of stuff, of like what's going to happen in the future with stuff. Because I'm like, man, I'm not going to get kicked around out here of like stuff like that. It's just, I will not tolerate that stuff. And I love to hear that from you too. It's so impressive the way you put it as well. You should give yourself a lot of credit for that.
Thank you, bro. Appreciate it.
And I also think too, like, it goes hand in hand with like your business. When you let little things like go through the cracks, or just making the decision, listen, I don't care what anyone else says. Like, all the returns are write-offs this year. Like, that is my decision. That's what I'm doing. I don't want to hear anyone else's opinion about it, because like, that's what I'm doing. If you don't like that, that's fine. I think like these like little holds, you're like, I'm so sick of holding Legos for 3 years. I'm just not doing it anymore. Like, I don't want to listen to Lego invest. Like, I'm just not doing it, and just staying away from that stuff. And I think when you do, you're like, whatever, like one more set, one more. And then before you know, you have 100 sets, and you're like, how did I get here? And I forgot what I was listening to the other day. I've never heard this before, but they're like, no one goes bankrupt overnight. It's like years and years of just these little tiny decisions or bad moves. And they just, all of a sudden, one day they all hit. And there's like one, like what you was saying, like one knockout blow. And then it's like, what happened? So, you bought like this bad business, that bad business, or like even buying stuff for Amazon. You're like, you buy a couple bad buys, and then before you know it, like all your profit is going to these bad buys because you're not paying attention to like what your numbers or what's going on.
So what does the future look like for you? Because I didn't know a lot about you before having this podcast, but I think that I will say, I think you have like an innate talent for speaking as well. So I think you might have a
Thank you.
motivational speaking career up your alley. If no one's told you that already, you're
Thank
very
you.
impressed with the way you put this stuff. So what's kind of your future outlook for stuff? Maybe outside or inside Amazon, whatever. Because I know you already said you wanted 2 mil, but I'm sure you want
Yeah,
bigger things as well.
definitely. Honestly, I'm very simple in how I live my life and how I like plan and goals and stuff. This is probably not something that a lot of people agree with. Like, I I'm not a big goal maker. Like, I don't like write my yearly goals down, my monthly, my 6 month, my year, my 5 month, my 10 year, because I would say there is probably a 99.9% chance that I'm not going to follow through with. Not to say that I don't want to win and I don't want to grow as a person. Like, I kind of like, look at my success in life and in business on a day-to-day thing. So like everything, like I woke up today, got up, I drank a couple bottles of water, I had my coffee, I had, my celery juice, I'm doing healthy things to my body. I'm reading, I was listening to an audio book, I got a little workout in, I went and ran a couple errands, came here back, I did this thing with you, I'll come back after this, I'll go do a few hours of work, which is going to make me money, grow my business, and I feel good when I work. And so like I do all these little things daily that help me win today. Like all I want to do is be successful today. I want to win today. So at the end of the day, did I have a successful day as far as did I take care of my body? Did I eat good? Like I eat unhealthy sometimes. So I love to eat like crap, but I also take care of my body more than than I don't. So at the end of the day, I'm like, did I drink enough water? Did I take vitamins? Did I get a workout in? Did I go for a walk? Did I go, am I doing all these little things? That I read? Did I work on my education today? Did I have an hour every day? I try to have at least an hour or two of downtime. Whether I want to sit and scroll Instagram reels, TikTok, want to watch a movie, like I do everything that I enjoy. And then at the end of the day, it's like, I'm successful. I did healthy things for my body, for my life, and my business. And I just want to continue to do that daily. And I know I'm going to be where I need to be at in a year or 5 years or 10 years.
Yeah.
So that's kind of how I look at success on that way. I know, like, I have this conversation with friends over the years, and almost everybody that I know is keeping goals. Everyone I know that is successful keeps goals, but I just, I don't know. Maybe I'm lazy. I don't know, but like I feel good, so I just double down on what's working for me. I love to fast. I love to juice. I love to diet, and just take care of my body. And also I'm really big on too, like if you work on every area of your life, even a little bit, go for a 10-minute walk today. Eat a couple of apples. Do a couple small things. Instead of drinking a 12-pack of soda today, why don't you drink 11 sodas and 1 bottle of water? Do little things that you can sustain. Like like I know I have like friends that'll like get into working out, and it's like boom, I'm at the gym 3 hours a day for 90 days, and then they stop altogether and they never go back. Like I would rather do a 20-minute workout 5 days a week for the rest of my life, as opposed to going to the gym 3 hours a day for a month and then stopping and never working out again. So like I kind of just build my life to what can I do healthy for my life that I can sustain for the rest of my life. I do that with my friendships, my relationships, and my business, and like everything works out. I keep I keep my stress in my life to a minimum. Don't tolerate any BS, and continue to grow and to hang out with people that are growing also. In the areas that you're growing in, and like honestly, you're going to be successful in anything you do. Your relationships, like, make sure your relationship, if you're in a relationship, make sure that's healthy. Make sure you guys are growing. Make sure you're on the same page. Make sure you communicate. Don't be with someone who's going to shoot you down or tear you down. Like if you're a guy in your relationship, if you have a girl that's constantly testing you, like, trying to like belittle you, or like, kind of like argumentative in the sense of like, okay, I'm going to, do this. No, I want to do this. Who's constantly just trying to get, like, that woman doesn't respect you. And if she doesn't respect you, then you're going to have a lower self-worth. You're going to feel crappy about yourself. Well, then guess what? Your diet's probably going to fail because you're probably looking to eat crappy food. You're probably being lazy, not working out. You're probably like maybe getting lost in movies or video games, which then you're lowering your self-worth every single day. And then next thing you know, everything's failing in life and you wonder why. So you need to have, every day, I think you need to work on all those things, because then you're going to win in all areas of life. Obviously, you'll have some setbacks in certain areas, but like, especially if you're in a relationship, that's got to be to the core. That's got to be working, because you can't have a crappy relationship and an amazing business. I feel they're going to even out, and one of them's going to fall back, and then they're both going to fall, and then everything else falls like dominoes, and then you're unhealthy, you're overweight, you're miserable, you're depressed. So, make sure you're with somebody as a man. Like I'm a big proponent on, I chase excellence, not women. So I grow myself, and I became the man that I needed to be to attract the woman that I want to be with. Like if you want a woman that does this, this, and this, and this, like, are you a man that does all those things? Because like attracts like. If you're, you know, overweight, dishonest, you steal, you do a bunch of dumb stuff, well, guess what? Don't be upset when you attract a woman who's exactly like that. And then the relationship fails. You know, attract people, like if you have a disagreement, or maybe once in a while you have an argument, don't be with a girl who's going to be like, run out and go to the bar or something like that because you guys had a disagreement, you know, and she's like flirting with men, calling up, like, clearly that's unhealthy and untoxic, you know. So it's just important to work on all the areas of your life, and then everything's going to flow in the right direction, and you're going to feel good, you're going to look good, and you're going to attract good, you know, if you do those things.
Yeah, I love it. It's that you're disassociating from the outcome and you're focusing on the input, like instead of the output and stuff. I think that's, I don't really understand why all the goals and the big things. I've never been that person either. We did a goals podcast, but I even said, I bet none of these are even going to be my goal, because I'm just focused on the inputs, and like wherever that takes me is what, because I don't see a huge value in, I want to do X or I want to get X. It's like, well, yeah, but you need to focus on what to do to get that type of things. And that seems exactly how you orient everything from business to girls to anything. You know, that's like, I think that's a perfect way to look at it. Because if anything, if you focus on the inputs, you're probably going to get the outputs. But if you only focus on the output, I mean, you might not get that, you know. But if you focus on what you're doing day to day, guarantee you're going to get somewhere, which I think is like a wonderful 100%. Way to look at that stuff.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. Yeah, I do think it's important. Like, we talk a lot about it on the podcast, just about consistency and doing the right things. And I think it's a really big point that you made about kind of like, you got to be the person. Like, you're not going to attract a person that you're not. And I think a lot of people do this when they hire virtual assistants or other people for their business. Like, they're not a good sourcer. They're looking for a good sourcer. But if you're not a good sourcer, you can't teach them to be a good sourcer. Or 100%. If you don't know how to pack a box for FBA, like, how are you supposed to tell Val to pack a box? Like, what is she supposed to do it? And then you're like, no, that's wrong. It's like, well, you don't know how to pack a box either. And it's just this whole, like, and then all these like little things add up. And then before you know it, it's like, why is this not working? And I think it's, and I think that's a really important thing that you talk about. Yeah, like, we did a goals podcast. I'm already off on I thought I was going to do one thing this year. I've kind of like scrapped that already. But I think it's important just to stay flexible, especially with Amazon. Like, you know what I mean? You're like, OA is not working out for me. Long time is like, I'm going to be the best Lego investor. Well, if like your stuff isn't working for the first 3 months, maybe you're not. And like, you should pivot and start doing RA or doing something else with your life or whatever you want to do. So I do think when you're in business or doing anything really, the idea to be flexible and be able to pivot is just really helpful. And if you're doing like 80% of the right things, 90%, it makes it real easy to pivot into something else, because you already have that 100%. Discipline of like doing good things. You just have to do different good things.
Yeah.
Well, John, you got any more questions? If not, we can do the lightning round if you want to do that. I feel like it flew by, but man, I love talking about this kind of like deeper type of stuff. So it just flies by when you're talking about that kind of stuff.
I'll do one more, then we'll get into the lightning round. What would your advice be for someone starting retail arbitrage?
All right, man. I feel like this question I suck at answering, because I kind of
all right, everyone stop listening.
Reverse the question in a sense of like, I was just on Ricky Huff's podcast a couple days ago, and we had this conversation, and it was like, if I personally had to start Amazon today, like, I don't know if I would win. Like, you know,
why?
I'm very like old school in how I do Amazon. Like, I'm not good with the softwares. I don't know how to use like tactical arbitrage really good. Like, I know how to read DIPA and everything like that, but I'm not good. Like, I'm not great at it. You know, there's people, I have friends that will look at a Keepa chart, and I'm just like, how are you even like you talked about this Keepa chart for like 30 minutes. Like, I looked at it for 3 seconds, like, you know, like, just the in-depth, the way people think. And like, I think one thing I think that a lot of the younger people do have an advantage of starting is that, like, younger people, like, you know, I didn't get my first computer, I think, until I was like 27 years old. We were broke, super poor, so I didn't have computers and stuff. So like, which is my fault. Like, it's my fault I'm not learning all the softwares. I easily could. So, but like, like there's so many softwares out there now, and like I feel like the younger kids are just so much better and more natural at that type of stuff. Like, cause like like when you go to the Miami Seller Conference, like there's people like half my age that are selling 5-10 times the amount I'm selling, and they've been in the game for like 3 weeks. Like it's just like wow, like it's so that's one thing I really like about going to that event is like because there's a lot of like 18 to 25-year-olds that are just like doing 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 million a year, and it's just like wow, it's incredible. Like so, like and they're like, yeah, I work like 10 hours a week and I'm doing 5 million a year. It's like and then like they talk about how they're doing it, like all the different softwares and how they run this with the VA to do this and do this. I'm just like it's mind blowing to me. So like I think that's an advantage a lot of younger people have because they can go that route. They can come in the game in a year and they're out telling me who's like traveling 200,000 miles around the country. So like I'm still like out there scanning. I go based off of memory and experience and feel and like like obviously yeah I don't really care to ever become a $5 million or $10 million seller. I don't think I'll ever do it. Not to like put myself down or say I can't. Like I know I could, but I just don't have the desire to do it. Like I'm really happy with where I'm at. I want to have a good business and a good life. Just a nice healthy balance of both. So I continue like I work on my I said this a million times in the past. Like I work harder on myself than I do on my business. Like if I continue to grow, put everything into me, then my business will naturally grow a little bit every year, and I'm totally fine with that. So it's like with the young kids starting today, like yeah, you have access to so many great, amazing softwares that you could spend a month learning, and then boom, the next thing you know, you're spending $100,000 a month doing OA. Like so, it's like I feel like I just would not be good at like I said. Sorry, long answer short is like I'm not very good at telling people how to get started today because like my advice would be go in the store, start scanning, and then they'll go out and scan. They're like, this was a freaking waste of time. I'm just gonna go learn the software that does all this for me.
That makes sense.
That's funny.
Well, lightning stuff. Do you want to start first?
Yeah. Let's see. What's the most you've lost at the casino in one night, and what's the most you've won?
Good question. The most I've ever lost at the casino in one night, I would say, is probably $500. Mixture of slot machines, video poker. And this usually happens when I'm with ASD friends and like you getting everyone psyching each other up and like people are dropping $4,000 on black on roulette. And I'm like, oh man, I'm gonna put 100 out, and then I lose. I start chasing losses, and like, it's usually when we're out for ASD and everyone's just gambling and having a good time. Like people that don't like, I live in Vegas, so like I'm not, like I can go to the casino anytime I want. But my friends that come for ASD, they come once a year. They want to go hard, for one night, and then I get caught up in having fun. We're having fun. We're winning together. We're losing and we're crying together. So like I'd say probably like $500-600, and it was definitely during an ASD night. And then the most I've ever won, I had my friend Jose I met at the Miami Seller Conference. We shared an Airbnb together. He flew out here for work last year, and we met up one night. And I was like, dude, let's stick $50 each in the slot machine into this video poker machine, and we'll split whatever we win. He's like, all right, cool, blah blah blah. Put in the $50. We $100. We got up to like 150. And then I don't know if you guys know poker at all. We were playing video poker. You get dealt 5 cards, and we got dealt like 10 Jack, King, Ace of Hearts or something like that. So we needed a Queen of Hearts or a Queen of Clubs to complete a royal flush. So we pulled out the video camera. I'm like, bro, videotape this just in case we hit it. And I hit the thing, boom, and the freaking Queen of Hearts popped out. And there was a bunch of people watching, and we were just like cheering, and it was like we hit a royal flush for $4,000 off the $5 bet. And that's the most I've ever won at the casino in one night.
That's great.
That's awesome.
That's what I like about Jamison. Always when we like meet up or we'll go into an RA store, it's like, all right, like whatever we find, we split. Or it's like, oh, we're gonna bet on. It's like always just like very, working together, or like let's do this together instead of being like, oh, if you win, you buy the drink. It's just more like, hey, let's do this together, or let's buy this together, and then whatever happens, happens.
Yeah, I like winning with my friends because, like, obviously when I go to the casino with friends, like we all gamble. Some win, some lose, blah, blah, blah. It's like, so there's a different mood for everybody because somebody may have lost 100, he lost 1,000, he won 5,000. So it's like, I like when I go to the casino with friends, I'm like, hey, yo, let's at least do one slot machine where we all pitch in and like split. So that way, if we all win, we're all feeling good. We're all having a good time together. Same thing when I go sourcing with people. Like, if I don't source with people, like if we go do RA together, I tell people before we go, we're splitting everything 50-50. Like, if you don't like that, then you can go shop on your own. Because to me, like, if you're going to go to the store and you're going to find 100 pairs of Nike shoes or whatever it may be, and then it's like you're keeping them, and then like I found like a pair of socks. Like, I wouldn't do that to you. If I found 100 of one, like I've gone sourcing tons of times with tons of people. Whatever I find, if I find 200 of this, 50 of that, 20 of that, I'm giving you half every single time. I want you to win. I want to win. I want us both to win. And then I hope we can learn and we can teach each other things that we can grow both in our business separately. So when I go sourcing with people, like if they're not down to like split and stuff like that, like I won't go sourcing with them again.
Makes sense.
You got any more, or is it me?
Oh, yeah, I have a couple more. What's the most you've lost on a single ASIN, and what'd you learn from it?
Good question.
Jameson's pulling up his inventory labs right now.
Yeah, dude, there's so many of them, bro. I would say I bought during the like whole pandemic thing. I had somebody come with me to buy. It was like $30,000 buy for one toy SKU, and I was just kind of dumb, excited, and I was like, yes, let's do it. Blah 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 blah. It was like $15. This thing was selling for like 50. It was an LOL item, which nobody, not many people can sell. I'm like, all right, dude, this is gonna be good. And then it's like, boom, Amazon hadn't been in stock on it for a long time, and when they did come in stock, they would be selling it for 50, $60. And it was like, they looked like they shared the buy box, everything looked good. I'm like, all right, cool. Maybe. And I knew I probably still shouldn't have done it because it was going to be, a 3-4 year sell through rate. And then boom, I get them, send them to the prep center, and then I'm sending them in, and then boom, Amazon stays on them at $25 for like a year. And so I'm just like, crap. I was holding on to them for like 6 months at Amazon. They're not small either. And so finally, I started dumping them at $25. I paid 15, and they're a bigger size toy. So I'm losing like 60%, on them, and selling down, paying storage at the prep, and like all in all, I'm like, crap, I'm gonna probably lose, freaking 20K on this buy, and I paid 30 for it. Thankfully, Amazon sold out. They stayed out, and then Christmas ended up coming around, and I was able to sell a ton of them at like $50. And so on the back end, I started making money. I still have a few more left to sell through, but I would say that was probably one of the scariest buys. I think I'm gonna probably end up breaking even on it or making a small profit after everything, because I sold like over 1,000 of them at like a 60% loss, and now my last end of them I'm making money on, but with the beginning. So I'll see at the end how much I end up winning or losing on it total once I sell out. But like that was probably one of the most scariest situations that I've been in, because I dropped 30K on one SKU. And that was that was stupid. That was a dumb mistake.
Oh man. And then last one. What's the most you made on an ASIN, a single ASIN?
Actually, I'm gonna show it to you. It's on my shelf. Let me grab it real quick.
Oh, Bolo, here we go.
So during COVID, it's a Fakai. It's a shampoo. They no longer make it anymore. This is my last one that I have left. I have it on my shelf as just as a reminder, just whatever kind of trophy or whatever you call it. So during COVID was just a booster. Like it just would have done well without it being COVID. So they ended up discontinuing this, like, I don't know, recipe for shampoo. I don't know what the heck you call it, how they make it, but they re-released it with a different formula or something. But people really liked this one. And so you could sell it in a 2-pack, or you could break it open and sell them in singles. And I was living in New Jersey at the time. I was going to all the Bed Bath & Beyond, all the Harmon Face Values, which was owned by Bed Bath & Beyond, like a little regional Jersey store. And I was ordering these from Bed Bath & Beyond until they freaking banned me. I ordered like 40 or 50K in buy cost of this in like a month, and then eventually they banned me. And so I made probably I'd say about over a 6-month period, I think I made probably like $100,000 profit on it.
Wow.
Maybe a little less. I don't remember exactly, but it was like this was the only item that I was selling during COVID, and it would have done just as fine probably. Maybe it was selling a little faster because of COVID. People weren't going out as much, but it was discontinued, and people just really wanted it because they stopped making it. So it was like a recipe for success, mixture of being discontinued
Mm.
and COVID. And so I was buying like Bed Bath and Beyond. So I was buying Bed Bath and Beyond coupons on eBay, like stacks. So I still have like 1,000 of them in my closet. But I was buying them for like 30 cents a piece, stacks and stacks and stacks. And I would go to this store called Harmon Face Values, which closed when Bed Bath and Beyond closed. So you'd need a coupon for every one of these, and every one you'd get 20% off on. So these were like these retailed for like $20 each, $25 each. But Harmon Face Values and Bed Bath and Beyond would sell these for like 30 for a 2-pack, and then I would get 20% off on top of that. And then I would bust them out, do 2-packs, I sold them across, probably 20 or 30 different ASINs because there was different, flavors, not flavors, like smells. I don't know, scents,
Yeah.
and so it was a bunch of different ASINs, but it was all this one shampoo brand. And I think I made like around maybe 90 or 100K over like 6 months, selling it.
How'd you find it? Were you just randomly
So
scanning
I
or?
randomly found it at Target while they were clearancing it, and there was one that was really good. It was a pink one, and I sent it in, and I made like $10 on it. And then I kind of forgot about it for a couple of months. And then I like just randomly going through mixture before like COVID, and I was just like not finding stuff. You couldn't really shop for toys. So it was like I walked in a Bed Bath and Beyond and I saw this, and I'm like, oh, I remember selling this a few months back. Let me check it. And I'm like checking eBay, checking Amazon because the prices were a lot higher than retail. And I'm like, yo, what is going on here? And I was like doing research. I found out online that they changed the formula. They discontinued this one, but it was still everywhere in New Jersey. I'm driving up to freaking New Jersey. I'm going to Pennsylvania. I'm going to Maryland. I'm clearing out every single Bed Bath and Beyond and Harmon Face Value. I would fill my car up top to bottom. Dude, I smelled like a freaking salon, like in my house and in my car. Like to this day, it still smells like it smelled like 4 years ago. And I sent in a few as a test. They all sold like instantly. I kept going back and back and back, and they were just flying. Like I was selling, I forget how many units I sold, but I sold thousands of units across all the ASINs. And it was literally probably, I would say, probably 95% of what I was selling for that 6 months during COVID. There's maybe a couple other things here and there, but it was like pretty much 90% all this shampoo.
That is,
Wow,
And then I
that's
was down to
insane.
like my last 4 or 5 bottles, and then I got a letter in the mail from a lawyer saying that you're not allowed to sell this. And I'm like, all right, I'm done. Like I did good. I can't find them anymore. I've got like 4 or 5 left at Amazon, and then I just removed them all. And then like this one showed up like 2 years later randomly, and I'm like, I'm gonna keep this.
that's awesome. Well, okay, but I only have two questions because you kind of already answered one. I saw you do some like juice stuff. I don't know if you're still into that. I was looking through the Instagram. If you had one juice concoction that you could recommend to anyone, like the general person to take, what would that be?
Good question. So I'm really big on detoxing and just kind of like remove toxins and stuff out of your body. So I would probably say apple, beet, carrot, ginger, and lemon. One, it tastes absolutely amazing, and two, like it's good for detox. You get good roots in you. You get things. I'm super big on juicing. Like I guess I won't get like too in depth in it because it can go a different direction. But like 10 years ago, I saw a documentary called Fat, Sick, and Nearly Dead, and this guy that was on it was super fat. He was on tons of medications. He was on tons of different things. He looked like really bad, and he did a 60-day juice fast, and he documented the entire thing. He lost like 100 pounds, and he was on like I don't know 10 or 15 different medications for just all unhealthy stuff in his body. And after that 60 days, he got off every single medication he was ever prescribed. And I'm like, damn, that freaking was so cool. Like, because at the time, like, I was diagnosed, when I was younger with manic depression and bipolar and like, a bunch of other stuff. And I was on all these medications that made me feel worse. They made me feel more depressed, more tired. I would stay in bed all day long. I didn't want to do anything. I felt like crap. And then a mixture of manic episodes of super big highs and super big lows. And I saw that documentary, and then slowly over like a year, I was able to get off all those medications. And to this day, this 10 year sport, I don't take anything for mental illness anymore. Like I do everything naturally now, and I feel better than I ever have. And I'm super big. Like like I won't, like I think a lot of the crap that we eat, like we're, whether you want to say intentionally or unintentionally, we're being poisoned, with the crap we eat. And refined sugar is one of the worst things I think anybody can eat. Like that is, if you cut out refined sugar from candy, soda, and stuff like that out of your diet, you would notice your mental just way of life and how you think, maybe your depression or anxious or anxiety, that would like level out almost to like non-existent if you cut that out of your diet. And I'm just super big on trying to do things naturally and not have to take medications, for the rest of my life to feel normal. I think a lot of those things we can handle on our own, can be done on your own, but not for everybody. It just works for me. I don't want anyone to see this like, I threw away all my medications and now it's your fault.
We're not doctors. We're not doctors.
I'm not a doctor.
Talk to your physician before you do anything crazy. All that
this isn't tax advice.
Yeah, this isn't. We just sell stuff on Amazon. This is not professional advice.
Well, they kind of, before I asked the last one, I follow a guy named Brute de Force on Twitter. He runs these big spaces. I don't know if you guys are aware of him. And he said that he thinks in the next 10, 15, 20 years or whatever, instead of people saying you lose your mind, he said that it'll change to you've lost your gut. And it's basically exactly what you're saying of, all this mental stuff that happens with people. A lot of it is just your gut and like all these toxins in your body. Mm-hmm. And it's really not your mind, because a lot of these things can literally be healed by your diet, because whatever you're putting in your body is like what's going to, happen to your brain. And your gut and your brain are super connected as well. A bunch of books and documentaries and stuff on that. So that's interesting, because I think you're early on that. I think in 20 years we might look, and that might be what people say is like they didn't lose their mind, they just lost their gut. Like it just their health exploded due to what they put in their body. And then the last thing, which I'm sure you'll have interested in for this one, what's the one piece of advice you have for someone that's going through something extremely difficult in life right now? So anybody watching this, I'm sure everybody has something in their life that they're going through. What would be your one piece of advice that you could give them?
Man, that is a great question. Well, I would say two things. I mean, there's so much we could say, and it's on the spot. I'm not very good at thinking of stuff. Like, one, like you're not alone. There's so many people that go through stuff like this, and like, obviously we just did a little hour, chat or whatever. So like, you only get a small tidbit. Like, it sucks when you're going through stuff like this, and like you feel you don't have anybody, especially like with men. And obviously this could be a whole podcast right here on this subject. Is that like, unfortunately, the average man doesn't have anyone to talk to. No one gives a crap about your problems. No one's going to listen to you. If you're going through it, guess what? You got to suck that up and you just got to deal with it. You're a man. That's what men do. So it's like you go through your whole life bottling everything up because you're not allowed to show emotion. You're not allowed to talk about your feelings, And so it's like all this builds and builds and builds, and one day you're going to explode, And I thought that my whole life, that I'm supposed to be a man. You can't cry. You can't act like a B, whatever, you got to do it. And so it's like you bottle all this up, and then you go through life. Of course, you wonder why you're not happy, because you're bottling all this stuff up. You have to, there's multiple things you can do to relieve that. One, I'm big on, I journal. And I'm the only one that reads this. Whatever's in your mind, get it out. Like your brain is not a filing cabinet. Get all your problems out, whatever it is you're going through, let it out. Like you're going to feel better, one, by doing that. Two, like one thing that I super duper struggled with, and even like I would say like 5 years ago, I still struggled with it, is like I was doing all these things to better my life, but I still would look in the mirror and I didn't love myself. I didn't have no self-worth. It was still fairly low. And a buddy of mine introduced me to a book called Love Yourself Like Your Life Depends on It. And I would highly, highly recommend that book. That book was probably, I would say, one of the most pivotal books that I've ever read in my life. It helped me build a solid foundation to becoming the man that I am today. And it just like, he teaches a lot of different things, but like it's so simple. But in the book, he's like, say out loud, I love myself, like hundreds of times a day. Like literally, like within a week, you'd be saying it thousands of times. And just keep walking around your house. If you're working, I mean, if you're not, if you're alone, obviously, if you're out at Target and Walmart, I love myself, but keep saying that. After like a week, I started to believe it. And then I was able to naturally get into better things. But like, sorry, back a little off topic there, but like, you can change. Don't let anybody, I know a lot of people, like if you're living down here, whatever, if you're, just the mindset of the people, everyone around you is like that, like generally like I said, like attracts like. So like I grew up around a lot of toxic people. I was a toxic person as well, poverty mindset. It's kind of like you've seen the movie Toy Story, where it's like, the guy's playing the claw game and he like grabs one of the guys out, but then everyone's pulling the thing back down.
Yeah.
That's what people in your life are going to subconsciously do to you, especially if you're around a lot of toxic people. Not that they're intentionally trying to pull you back in, it's just a natural thing. So it's like it's hard to change and get out, and some people get pulled right back down into it. It's like you've got to cut ties from toxic people. It is hard. It hurts. The world is going to tell you you're wrong. You're a bad guy. Like I had to cut, parents, family, friends out of my life, and they're always like, "Oh, you can do that to your family, blah 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 blah." But like, if your family keeps pulling you down, like, at one point do you decide to, okay, it's time to cut that person off completely, or continue to allow that to happen to you? And I made the decision to walk away from family and friends, and it was very hard, and it took me years to heal and grow from that, and I felt like crap for years because, when you casually, if you bumped into family or had a quick conversation on Facebook, they would always bring it up like, "Oh, you're a piece of, you're mean, you're a bad person from walking away from them. How could you do that? That's your XYZ." And it's like, you're getting pulled back down in the frickin' claw machine again. And you have to do what's best for you. Like if you want to heal, be happy, be healthy, you need to be around people that are doing those things. Like my coach told me many years ago, it was like, and this is not like sounded stuck advice, but it was just kind of like a metaphor, and but it worked for me. He was like, you need to find out what poor-minded people are doing and stop doing it. Where the poor-minded people are going, you need to stop going there. What the poor-minded people watch, you need to stop watching that. And obviously, like, it's not like this is set some advice, but it just kind of opened my mind to like, wow, all the things that I'm doing, the type of people that do that, like, I don't want to be around those people, so then why am I doing this behavior? And so I was able to shift and stop doing those things. And slowly, it took years. It took years of saving up, building up, and eventually I was able to get away from all that stuff. And now I'm happy, I'm healthy, and I feel good about myself. I can look in the mirror and say, I love myself, I value who I am as a human. And when you do all these things, eventually you don't take no crap from nobody either. And that's why people don't bring crap to people like that, because they know you're not going to take it. Like, I'll stick with my decision. Like, say there's 100 people in the room, and I'm going to say, all right, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to do this. And then, like, say the other 99 are going to go do that. A lot of people will go follow that just to be with the group. I'm going this way regardless. You guys are welcome to come with me. If you don't want to, that's fine, but I'm still going this way, whether I'm with people or I'm alone. Like, I'm going to do what's best, what I feel is the best decision to make the best outcome. And same thing with when you're in relationships too. Like, I'm kind of old school in the sense where, like, I know I need to, I'm leader, provider, protector. Like, that's me. That's what works in my relationship. And I know if I make the right decisions to lead the relationship, like, they're naturally going to follow. They're not going to shit test you. Like, if you're in a relationship and your girl's always shit testing you, like, you're like, okay, let's do this. No, let's do this. Okay, let's go here. No, let's go do this. And it's like, I think I should do this in my business. No, you should do this. Like, constantly, that means, one, she probably doesn't respect you as much as you think she does. And two, maybe you're not being a good leader also, because if you were leading in the right direction, there would be less shit tests in the relationship and in life. Like, the more you make bad decisions, the more shit tests you're going to have to face. And so I guess that was a long answer, but honestly,
it's awesome.
Man, like, I believe in you too. If you're seeing this, you're going through it, I believe in you. If you have any questions, honestly, feel free to reach out to me on Instagram. I'm happy to chat with people. Like, I love getting messages of people saying blah, 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 blah. I'm going through this, da, 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 da. And, like, seeing your thing. Like, I made a lot of horrible mistakes in my life, and I hope that people can learn from that. And then so it feels really good when I know the shitty things I've done in my life that I learned to grow from and get out of, that I can help other people not make those mistakes or minimize the mistake of them going through the same thing. Like, I'm glad I went through the fire, so maybe somebody else doesn't have to.
Yeah, I would just, one last thing to add to that, I think too, is like, you never know who's watching. I mean, we were at the conference in Kansas and someone came up to both of us and was like, oh, I was like depressed and suicidal like you guys and watched your content. And now I'm a 7-figure seller. Like, I've never left a comment, I've never DM'd any of you guys, but like, thank you. So you just never know who's watching. So like,
exactly.
share your stuff, put it out there. You just never know.
And one little thing too is, like, this is one thing I learned from Gary Vee. Like, he's like, yeah, you may make content, you may make videos, they may not get millions or thousands of views, they may get 10 views, but maybe what if one of those views is the right view? Like, what if you like you said, that one person that came up to the conference, like, that was the right view, that was the right person. There was 50 people in that room, but it was, so, like, when you make a video and you put something out there, like, who cares if it gets 100 views? What if the right 100 people see that? that's probably more impact than if it got 1 million views and it didn't, it didn't help anybody.
Yeah, for sure.
Unbelievable.
Where can people find you?
Instagram, Facebook, Jamison Philippi, and that's where I hang out most of the time.
Awesome.
Sweet.
Oh, got any parting words?
I love you. I believe in you, and you can do anything in this world that you want to do, baby. It's pretty cliche, but it's true.
Boom.
All right. Peace.
Cool. All right.